Hello and welcome back, my party goers. How you doing? We've got a pretty fun video actually. We're going to be playing Magic Monkeys only on not alternate Bloons, but on Another Brick. This is a weird one because it's kind of difficult to get going in here, but I also wanted to make it a little bit more difficult on myself here, guys. I wanted to do it with no extra monkey knowledge. Just to make it easy for you guys if you're struggling at all, to make this super duper easy for you so we can have some fun doing it as well. Of course, you guys probably know by now the power of Alchemist Ninja, the power of Alchemist Druid, and of course the power of Alchemist Super Monkey. All of those guys are powerful, powerhouses, man. So really just combine those guys together and you're going to be happy. But how do you start it off, you know? How do you get going in here? You might think a ninja would be a good guy to start off with. Actually, not quite. And the main reason is round 4. Round 4 is a crap ton of blue balloons up in here, and it's definitely not easy to take down those group balloons unless you get a druid. So I've got a druid start over here. We got the quick, I believe I got Thorn Swarm. Thorn Swarm. That's what we've got today, guys. I can't say it, man. I'll never be able to say it. The Thorn. Just forgive me, man. You know what I'm saying. Where it shoots lots more. You can go for hard thorns as well if you want to. Either way really doesn't matter to me. They're both very similar. It's just probably a little bit better with the more thorns if you get them next to an alchemist, because it's going to increase your pierce and of course your damage as well. So if you got more things shooting out, it's going to be an overall higher amount of damage and pierce compared to just adding just a little bit of extra with the hard thorns. So, anyways, what I'm going to talk about today actually is my, little baby story here, guys, is my party situation. How many parties have I gone to in my life? What happened at these parties? What kind of craziness happened? And, just any of the kind of weirdness surrounding it. So, me personally, as you guys probably know, I've never been much of a partier, per se. Not much of a partier. I can very clearly say, just in case you guys are curious, and I'm poking fun at somebody here if you know what I'm talking about, I have never blacked out drunk or passed out drunk, not knowing what I did, I just never. Alright, it's never happened. If anything, maybe one time, I sort of blacked out for like maybe a minute. I don't really know. I mean, I've spent a long time, but I don't really remember exactly what happened. But all I remember is that I was in my room, and then all of a sudden I was in the bathroom, and I was like, whoa, what happened? And it's like a minute passed, and I'm like, whoa, look at that. And I was like really drugged too, so that was probably one of the only times that I probably blacked out. But it was like a minute of I don't know what happened, but I'm pretty sure that I didn't even interact with anybody anyways. So anyways, parties. Early on growing up in my life, I did have some parties. So I had some, you guys, I don't know if you guys have them still to these days, the like, you know, close friends at school where you hand out the invitations and like you invite like 10 to 15 people kind of thing, and the parents put a limit on how many people you're allowed to invite, and sometimes kids get screwed over. You're just like, I don't really like that kid as much as this kid, so I can't invite him. Or you try and invite the cool kids because you're trying to act cool or something like that. Yeah, I did have some of those parties. Or even, I don't know if people still do this, man, where they had like little gift bags or something like that. I know that my mom tried it once, and I've gotten a couple of gift bags from little like party get-together things where they have a little bit of candy inside and like maybe a little bit of couple little trinkets or something stupid. I don't know, like things that don't even matter in real life, but they just exist anyways. So believe it or not, this was actually probably one of the most difficult parts for me coming up right here. Round 40. Sure, it's just a regular Moab, admittedly, but getting that Moab layer gone is difficult. Ninjas are not that good at it. Druids are your best option. So what you have to do is you have to put druids in smart spots and get the shotgun druids, alright? The middle path. Shoot out 8 projectiles every time kind of druids here. You can do hard thorns if you want to, but the middle path is going to be better or more Moab popping power. So we've got the 2 druids up here on the left, we've got one over here on the right, kind of in the middle, and we've also got our ninja in the back here. And the question is can we get this ninja powered up and alchemized before round 40? And I believe that we can. Or do we want to go for like a super monkey? There's a couple different ways of doing it. You know, there's no wrong way. Actually, that's wrong. There's a lot of wrong ways. Wizards, you're not going to be able to afford anything reasonable enough to actually get it through. And you don't want to alchemize too much. A lot of people, they over-alchemize themselves, and they throw a bunch of alchemists all over the place. If you put them on the wrong towers, they might not actually be all that efficient. So don't over-alchemize your towers. Try and use them efficiently by only using one alchemist per every 3 towers, which is the max amount of alchemists, the max amount of potions that an alchemist can actually throw at your peeps over here. So those parties I did go to. I did have some fun on it, and nothing crazy happened. The only weird thing that happened to me one time, there's this kid named Jim, alright? I'm not going to do any last names over here, but there's a kid named Jim, and I thought he was a little bit weird, but he was like the person I like invited like last to my party kind of thing. You know, I was like, alright, you know what? I've got enough room, like let's invite Jim to my party. So I felt like I talked to him in school, you know, and he didn't seem that weird, right? But this will always go down in my memory for some reason. I knew his name, I invited him, I knew pretty much everybody in my class, and this was not, you know, my birthday is in March. So like these people in my class have been in my class since August, right? So he's been in my class for like 9 months. I can very clearly say, and by the way, back then I was going to a religious school. So you stayed with the exact same 36 people or 30 people or so through the entire year, and usually you stick with mostly the same people in every single year you go to. It's just that's the way it worked. So yeah. So anyways, this kid Jim should have known everybody in the class easily, right? Anyways, we get to the backyard. I remember I was kind of introducing him to my other couple of friends that didn't go to the school, my friend Adam and Anthony. And I'm like, yeah, this is Adam, this is Anthony, and he's like, oh, hi. And then he was like, and what's your name? To me, and I'm like, oh, my name's Chris. I'm the birthday boy. I'm the birthday boy. Like, how do you come to somebody's birthday, not know who they are, not even know their name? Like, oh my God, I was flabbergasted by this. I just didn't know what to say, but I was like, oh, I'm Chris, you know, and yeah, all right. So after that, I was like, well, that kid's real weird. I guess I'm not gonna be able to talk to him ever again. And I don't even know what happened, but I'm pretty sure I had a pretty good birthday back then. It went pretty swell. We just kind of did crappy, stupid things in the backyard and stuff, little games and sports and such, you know. The usual for a little birthday party, have some cake. Obviously, you gotta have cake at a birthday party. And it was all good. So that was one of my first, like, parties ever. And I only had probably, like, two birthday parties growing up that I clearly remember. I had one in a bowling alley. I had one at my house. And as far as friends are concerned, I think I only had 2, maybe 3. Maybe one that I was a little bit younger. I don't remember very much. And then as I grew up, I kind of stopped having friend parties. Like, I just didn't do it anymore. I don't know, you just realize, like, it just doesn't happen anymore. It's like, oh no, that's kind of sad. But instead, sometimes you have your family over, right? So I had a couple parties where my entire family, like, came over. Like, my grandparents, my uncles, and, like, all this other stuff. And I remember doing this, like, when I was a little bit younger, too, where I would go to other people's houses for their birthdays as well, you know? We didn't do it all that much. We don't have a super-duper close family, but we do have a pretty reasonably close family. So, I don't know, nothing too crazy happened, but I do remember when I went over to my uncle's house. And my uncle, he's kind of like the wild card here. He's like the wild uncle kind of person, you know? He's very nice and everything. In fact, he was my boss for a while, too, believe it or not. He's kind of a wild guy, but one thing he had was he had like this treehouse that you had to like climb up into, and then you slid down the what's that thing called? A zip line. He had a straight up zip line in his backyard, and this thing was not like the casual, like, you know, slow gradient sort of zip line over here. This is the kind of zip line where you're going down at a pretty steep angle. It's not that long, but it's a pretty steep angle over there. So I remember, and by the way, you do this where you're like 20, 25 feet up in the air. Like, it's pretty high. It's a pretty high treehouse. Or maybe my kid brain is just making it bigger than it was. But I remember it being very tall, where if you fell off, you'd probably hurt pretty bad. Well, one of the people who went on, and the main rule, whenever you're doing the zip line, no matter what, is let go before you hit the end of the thing. It's got to get tied on somewhere, you know? It doesn't, like, zip up or anything like that. It just ends. That's how the zip line was designed, you know? My uncle, we don't do anything too fancy over here. Everybody knows you drop off. It's no problem there, man. Just drop off. It's all good if you drop off. Anyways, this one kid that was going on, it was one of my cousins. And he's a pretty reasonable age here, but he never went, he was probably like 12 or something like that, 13. But he never did the zip line before. He didn't know what he was doing. They told him to drop off, but it's scary. You know, you don't want to let go when you're flying down this thing 20 miles per hour. So he holds on, and instead of, you know, just dropping down and kind of running in the grass, or even just falling in the grass at the end of the thing, no, he got demolished. I remember watching it. It was like right in like the perfect ankle. I wish I got a video of this thing, man. Of course, phones didn't really exist back then, or video phones didn't exist back then. But he held on, and then the entirety of his momentum just makes him do like a full 360 flip in the middle of air. Almost looked like he planned it. And then he fell like right on his arm-leg combo, and it was just like, he started like not crying, but like moaning kind of thing. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I thought it was hilarious, of course. All the parents were like, oh, no, was he okay? Like, he was fine, you know. He didn't get hurt that bad. A couple scratches or bruise or whatever. No big deal. It'll heal. But that was one of the parties that I remember. That was actually very, very fun. I haven't actually done a party with any of my family in probably close to 10 years, though. As we grew up, they're just like, nope, no more parties. They just don't happen anymore. I'm not really sure why they don't happen. The closest thing that ever happened was my grandma had her 50th and 60th anniversary party. Straight up ridiculous, believe it or not. And that was like the only times we actually got together sort of as like a pretty decent-sized family. Now, moving on, though, the only other time that the parties usually happen is in college. This is where you guys want the juicy details, right? So I didn't drink in college almost at all. Basically, I don't know if I don't know if I should say zero, but pretty gosh darn close to zero. And even when I did drink, it was like a sip or a shot or something. It was not like a lot. I don't like the taste of alcohol, almost at all. The only thing I actually realized that I kind of like the taste of is Red's Apple Ale. And no, I'm not sponsored by them at all. They're the only one that I'm like, okay, that actually tastes pretty good. I could do that. But beer tastes like water with pee in it, and like, just don't like it. Shots are just, they burn you, so it doesn't really taste horrible, but it's not good, right? So in college, I only went to one actual house party, right? And I basically said no more after this. My friends did it all the time. I had 3 other roommates. I was in a group of 4 rooms together. And my friends always wanted to go to all the parties. They did. They went out. They had fun. They got wasted or whatever, and they always came back super duper drunk. Well, me, I never went out and went to the parties. But they talked me into it one time, right? It was for Halloween, and I remember I went out, and I was dressed up as, oh god, Overstimulation Man. Yes, I was. So I got some. Oh man, I don't even remember what it was, but I got some glow sticks. I got some air fresheners. I had like a little horn or something like that. And I had, I forget, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I tried to overstimulate people's senses. That was my job, right? So that's where the smells and the lights and everything came from. And I went and I watched people play beer pong. I kind of wanted to play beer pong against people, but I didn't really get invited. I literally just sat in a chair in the corner, and I just watched everything unfold. I was the weird guy just that watched things happen. And I did have one girl talk to me. She was in a SpongeBob costume, and she said, I was single at the time, and she said, I really like your costume, and I said, thank you. And that was all the words that I said at the entire time of that party. All the words. I'm not even joking. Eventually, I left. I'm pretty sure I left before my friends wanted to leave. I'm like, no worries, I can find my way back. Because we walked there. I'm like, no worries, I can find my way back. Have fun, do whatever you want. And yeah, so that was my only college experience ever. College party experience. I literally sat in a corner and on a little chair thing and watched people play beer pong for about an hour and a half maybe. And you know, it makes you realize that you definitely need to drink to have fun at these house parties, or you just gotta have that that attitude. You know, you gotta just enjoy that kind of thing, like the loud sounds and noises and the people and meeting people and stuff like that. It's just never been a thing for me. So anyways, this is the magic strategy here, guys. Make sure you get the Sun God for around 60 or 63. It's definitely important here. If you don't get that, you're probably screwed. Everything else is just sort of for fun after you get the Sun God. Add whatever you want. You know, add some Druids, add this nice Lightning Bolt Wizard, add the Alchemist up in here to power up your Sun God and everything. And everything else is just kind of the past. You will for sure win. Another one, though, the Wizard here is kind of important. It's a little bit helpful here to get some extra Moab popping power. Help get through these BFBs and everything, because they're going to be banded, you know, or reinforced, so they're not going to be easy to just chug through over here. But that's pretty much the end of the video here, guys. If you enjoyed my random party rant over here, make sure you press that like button for me. I know you guys love my stories over here. I don't think I've ever told that one either, so that's good, man. That's good. Making some new fun stuff up, right? And hit the notification button if you haven't, and make sure you're subscribed, and of course, have a super duper delicious day.